Hey, what's going on guys? Arekkz here, welcome back to another video for Monster Hunter World Iceborne. Hopefully by now you've caught the news that we have not one but two monsters to look forward to fighting in Iceborne very soon, next week in fact, Stygian Zinogre and also this mysterious new dragon. Admittedly right now we don't know if both are dropping at the same time, but next week we have a developer diary on the 3rd, the update with Stygian Zinogre on the 4th, and a second developer diary on the 5th, so next week is going to be a good one. And ahead of that, I thought it'd be fun to take some time to talk about Stygian Zinogre, what we know about it from previous installments of Monster Hunter, its behaviour, weapons, armour, all that good stuff. But first, before we dive into the meat of the video, I want to take a moment to talk tech and thank Acer for very kindly sponsoring this video. I've recently had the chance to check out a few of Acer's different laptop models. You guys may have already seen the full system overview and benchmark test I did on the beefy Triton 900, which is an absolute beast, and this is the little brother, the Triton 500. But make no mistake, it may be smaller, but it still packs a punch. This is another RTX gaming laptop, but this time in an incredibly small, light and thin package, the polar opposite to the weighty Triton 900. Under the hood, you've got an 8th generation Intel Core i7 processor, 16GB of RAM, and despite the considerably smaller form factor, this thing still packs an RTX 2080 GPU. Powered by the Turing GPU architecture, this means the laptop is capable of delivering over 4 times the performance of a GTX 960M on most of today's popular titles, making it great for gaming on the go. Of course, with an RTX 2080 under the hood, that also means you can take advantage of real-time ray tracing and AI in supported titles. Taking a look at the outside, one of the nice things about this model is that despite it being so thin, it hasn't sacrificed in I/O options. It still has an Ethernet port, USB port, HDMI out, and your typical audio jacks. And on the other side, you have a further 2 USB ports, a mini display port, and a Thunderbolt port. So you've also got a lot of potential to hook this up to external monitors. Furthermore, the 15.6-inch screen has a 144Hz refresh rate with a 3ms overdrive response, and it's all in this nice, non-obtrusive frame. The super low profile border makes for a pretty nice overall viewing experience. So in summary, if you're looking for something that you can travel with that isn't too heavy, yet still packs a punch and allows you to play some of your favourite games on the go, then consider checking out the Acer Predator Triton 500. You can find out more about the system in the links down below. Now, let's talk Stygian Zinogre, Zinogre's goth cousin. With another dragon element doggo on the field, we now have Stygian Zinogre and Ebony Odogaron to mess with you, and you know full well Capcom are just going to put both of them in an event quest at some point. I mean, it's just a given, right? The Dragon Doggo Duo, something like that. You can have that one for free, Capcom. Anyway, Stygian Zinogre, for those of you that haven't played previous installments in the Monster Hunter series, is a subspecies of Zinogre, first introduced in Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate. Stygian Zinogre instead has a much more metallic grey colour scheme to it, with hints of white and red, a stark contrast to the electric blue of the regular Zinogre. Behaviour-wise, you can for sure expect some similarities. I mean, Stygian Zinogre is still going to charge up and rain down lightning on your unsuspecting ass, but this time it's this bright red, sinister, almost Sith-like lightning storm, and of course, in Monster Hunter, this red spectacle can be recognised as Dragon Element. Stygian Zinogre is capable of imbuing its attacks with Dragon Element due to its absorption of bugs that feed on Dragonfell berries. Now, obviously when monsters make their way into Iceborne, they typically have some new behaviour, so I'd like to assume that Stygian Zinogre will also be able to be taken out of its enraged dragon Super Saiyan state by grabbing bugs from its back, much like you can the regular Zinogre, but again, only time will tell. One thing that is interesting with Stygian Zinogre though is that the bugs that fly closely to this beast can be released, and when released they can fly directly towards the hunter and explode on contact. So this is kind of one of the attacks you'll see instead of the conventional circular or sort of like rotating thunderballs that Zinogre sends out. Stygian Zinogre will instead send out these sort of homing red dragon energy balls. Naturally, being hit by these explosions will of course inflict Dragon Blight on you, so you'll for sure want to plan for this with either plenty of null berries or blight resistance. One thing that is quite handy, however, is that unlike the regular Thunder Element cousin, Stygian Zinogre is in fact susceptible to shock traps, so when fighting it, you can actually put them down without fear that it will then siphon the energy to charge itself. Additionally, Stygian Zinogre is capable of completing its charge by unleashing Red Thunder whilst walking, so while it may at first glance look quite similar to regular Zinogre, and thus quite predictable, don't go into the fight assuming you know it, because it does in fact have quite a few tricks up its sleeve. Ryozo Tsujimoto once actually said in an interview that Zinogre is, or Stygian Zinogre should I say, is actually one of his favourite monsters, in part due to the colour scheme, and also because Zinogre is already a cool looking monster. And I've got to agree, I mean, red and black is my colour scheme, right? So, very much looking forward to this fight. But what about armor? Well, much like the other subspecies armors, they draw heavy inspiration from the original set, albeit with unique colours. But I will say I'm super interested to see what Capcom do this time around. With the recent introduction of Rajang, and the alpha set looking similar to the typical high rank set, but the beta set looking like a completely new take on actually the G rank set, a completely new unique design, it does beg the question, what do they plan to do for Stygian Zinogre? This is a look at the typical Zinogre U armor, and while it does still look pretty cool, in fact, one of my very first mix sets in 4 Ultimate used parts from Stygian Zinogre, I do still hope they lean more into the G-Rank designs or do what they did with Rajang and create a completely new look for the beta set. That would be amazing. Back in the 4U days, the Zinogre U armor came with Evasion +1, Focus, Peak Performance, and Dragon Attack, as well as the negative skill Recovery Down. Now yes, armor skills do work differently in World and Iceborne, we don't have negative skills for one, but if it had elements of the old set with skills like Focus, Peak Performance and Dragon Attack, then that could very well make for some interesting new mix sets. Speaking of which, Mix Set Monday, I know it hasn't been here for the past couple of weeks, will be making a return at some point soon. It kind of got to this point, this sort of little slightly stagnant point where a lot of the sets being submitted were very similar to one another, so making a video each week on something that is largely similar to something I've already shown you guys didn't seem like the most valuable content. But of course, with the introduction of Stygian Zinogre and hopefully that mysterious black dragon as well, then there'll be some new armor sets thrown in, so without question, there'll be some new mix sets to play with. As for the weapons, as you no doubt expect, the Stygian Zinogre weapons historically came with Dragon Element on them, so I'd very much expect the same this time around. Design-wise, they were incredibly cool, stemming off of the regular Zinogre tree, only now with the more distinct red and black colour scheme. And given that there were some new Zinogre weapons introduced in Iceborne, namely like the Insect Glaive, Charge Blade, stuff like that, then the Stygian variants should look pretty sweet. In fact, for the Charge Blade specifically, I really hope that becomes like the new Dragon Element one as an actual elemental Charge Blade, because that could look awesome. However, if I look back to some of the, old school Stygian Zinogre weapons, the ones that were present in the previous games, I think some of my favourite ones, some of my standout ones, I mean, I'm a Sword and Shield fanboy, right? So the Sword and Shield was definitely, without question, one of them. But I think, actually, the one that stood out to me the most was probably the Lance. The Lance had like a really, really cool design. I mean, the Zinogre Lance looks cool regardless, but the Stygian Zinogre Lance is one of the ones that I made because back in the 4 Ultimate days, when I was sort of fighting it the most, I used to do like a lot of evade lancing. Evade lancing, it doesn't exist in the same capacity in Iceborne, right? There's a loose version of it, but, evade lancing used to be broken. For those of you guys that didn't play any of the older ones, then Lance, much like it does now, has all the back hops, and evade lance was all about putting max evasion skills into your armor set so that when you just jump backwards, you were invulnerable for the entirety of your back hops, so you were effectively invincible as a Lance user. It was kind of broken, it was also a lot of fun, and I think the very first Lance I made to try evade lancing was the Stygian Zinogre one, because I was just like, I just want something that looks cool so I can try this out, and that was that. So that kind of brings back memories for me, so Stygian Zinogre Lance, definitely gonna make that one. But for the time being, that is kind of it. That's sort of a little rundown on what you can expect from Stygian Zinogre. I know right now, there's different kind of camps of people. Some people are like, this just looks like a reskin, and I've said this before, like, subspecies, variants, deviants, all those kind of permutations in Monster Hunter, it's part of Monster Hunter's DNA, right? Yes, of course, it might not be a drastically, distinctly new monster, but of course, it's still going to have its own unique differences to the point where it is a cool fight. And, again, I've said this many times, but some of my favourite fights in Monster Hunter have come from subspecies. Sometimes you take an already cool monster, something you already enjoy fighting, and you then throw some twists on it to make the fight even more interesting, even more kind of different and sometimes more difficult, and it just creates for like an even better experience. And the fact that we're going to be getting that alongside another new monster means that, we kind of get the best of both worlds, right? We get something that's really cool, that expands the existing roster, that a lot of people are still a big fan of. I know a lot of people that like Zinogre have been asking for Stygian Zinogre since basically the time they announced Zinogre was coming to Iceborne, so to sort of see this make it into the new world, is very cool. But again, either way, I'm excited, I'm looking forward to it. Next week, once it drops, you can expect the usual coverage. We're going to be taking a look at the armor, we'll take a look at the weapons, we'll take a look at the fight, and of course, if there's that new monster as well, we'll be doing the same for that. So, if you're excited for Iceborne, then next week's going to be a good week. Next week's like our Christmas, because I assume that's going to coincide with the brand new festival event, or they'll come at different times. Either way, there's a lot of stuff coming. So keep it locked. As always, I'll keep you guys back up to date. If you're excited for Iceborne, then you're in the right place. I really hope you guys enjoyed that video. Remember to hit that subscribe button and also click on the little bell icon to turn on notifications so you don't miss my next upload. Also, don't forget you can check out 269 and Paradise Central streaming over on Twitch 6 days a week. You can find a link to the multi-stream in the description box down below. Be sure to drop by and get involved. Thanks again for watching. Take it easy. Catch you next time. Peace out.